Understanding getters and setters. Today, we're going to dive into the world of getters and setters. But first, let's set the scene with a story about an airplane. Imagine we have a class called airplane, and this class has a single field called altitude. When we create an airplane object, we need to set an initial value for altitude, which could be in feet or meters. It doesn't really matter for our example. Now, let's say someone gets their hands on our airplane object and sets the altitude to a ridiculous number, like 1 billion feet. That's clearly not realistic and could lead to problems in our program. So, how do we prevent such absurd changes? One way is to change the altitude field from public to private, but then we can't access it directly at all. Another, more flexible way is to use getters and setters, which introduce a layer of security through a concept called encapsulation. Setting up the property. To start, we need to set up a property for our altitude field. A property combines the aspects of both fields and methods. It shares the same name as the field, but with a capital letter. So, let's create a public property named altitude. How it works. In the example above, we've set up a property called altitude with a capital A. This property has both a getAccessor and a setAccessor. The getAccessor returns the current value of altitude, while the setAccessor allows us to assign a value to altitude, but with a check in place. If the value is greater than 50,000 feet, it will cap the altitude at 50,000. Using the property. Now, when we create an airplane object, we can set the initial altitude safely. In this code, we first set the altitude to 30,000 feet, which is within our acceptable range. Then we try to set it to 60,000 feet, but our property limits it to 50,000 feet. Benefits of getters and setters. Getters and setters provide a way to control access to private fields while still allowing them to be readable and writable through properties. This enhances the security and integrity of our data. By using properties, we can add logic to the setting process, such as validation checks, without changing how the property is accessed externally. Summary. So, getters and setters in C# are powerful tools for managing access to private fields within a class. They allow you to enforce rules and constraints on your data, ensuring it remains within acceptable bounds. Whether you're dealing with the speed of a car or the altitude of an airplane, getters and setters are essential for robust and secure code.